Today I am going to be talking about how to get out of a book slump. I currently just got myself out of a reading slump, so I felt like I could share some knowledge to you guys and share to you guys what I did, and maybe that it'll help. Just keep in mind, this is what helped me. It won't necessarily help you, and these are just a few tips for you guys just in case anything helps, and I hope it does, because being in reading slumps literally sucks. Because you want to read books, but you're just like, this isn't entertaining me. And then you just go and watch YouTube. Well, if you're me, you watch YouTube and just distract yourself from the reading slump, and you don't fix it. So it took quite a while for me to actually fix, and I'll be sharing what books that I read, what books I'm currently reading to help me ease back into reading. Okay, so my first tip is to get inspired. You can go on YouTube, search for booktubers like Hattie-tastic, Jessie the Reader, and see what their wrap-ups are, what books they recommend, and just get inspired to read. But try to limit yourself, because if you don't limit yourself, then you're just going to be watching booktube videos all day, and that's not healthy, and it's not helping you out of your reading slump, let me tell you. While I was on my reading slump, I did read a few books, but it kind of like, I read like half the book and then like I wasn't interested in it, and I was like really inspired to read, but I just couldn't read anything, and nothing was helping me out. So my first suggestion is to reread a book that you know you love. For me, this would be Silver Shadows. Silver Shadows is the 5th book in the Bloodline series, and I reread this book to kind of fall in love with reading again, because it is my favorite book that I have at college with me, and I love it so much, and I love the characters, and I love the relationship and everything, and I love Rochelle Mead. So I just reread this book to kind of get inspired and to kind of like hope that this would like get me into reading books again. So once I was set and I was like inspired to read, and I was just ready to go, ready to just zoom off into reading like a book a day, which would never happen for me because I'm in college, but like I was ready to read like a book a day and just like ready. I went out and I actually bought some books, and that's also not the healthiest thing to do, let me tell you, but I bought Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I bought it and I read it in about 3 days, and I just loved it so much, and I fell in love with reading again, and everything, and characters and character development, and I have a whole book talk on Fangirl, and I'll link it down below. But I feel like contemporary novels really are easing you into reading. This is my whole contemporary shelf, and they ease you into reading, and because they tell a story in the real world, it may be a love story, but they tell a story in the real world, and they just kind of, it's just like you're reading about someone's life. It's not like a fantasy novel like Game of Thrones, but it gets you into the mindset of, hey, I can read a 400-page book. So the next thing I did was I read Game of Thrones. Now, I read and watched the TV series at the same time. Wasn't the best idea, because then I just became obsessed with the TV show, and I was so concerned about watching the TV show that I just marathoned the TV show, and then after that I wouldn't let myself watch the show until I read the rest of the books. So I picked up A Clash of Kings, and I did start reading this, and I did fall in love with this book, but then I got distracted on YouTube, and what do? You put down the book, and you leave it, and you let it sit, and you let it mull, and then people ask you questions. Oh, how far are you in the book? Still a place I was at yesterday. That makes you feel awful. So my next tip for you is to not get into reading heavy books until you're in the full throw of reading and you are just so pumped and you're pumping out like a book a day. And so the book I am currently reading is This Is What Happy Looks Like by Jennifer E. Smith. I just started this book today and I think it is the most adorable book, and I'm only on chapter 1 and I'm so in love with this book already and it makes me happy. So I figured out that I can watch Game of Thrones and read this book at the same time, because Game of Thrones is like dense, like heavy informational stuff, and this is just like a light read. And I think I just need to read some light books before I get back into the full throw of reading all these fantasy and dystopian novels. I do love fantasy and dystopian, they're my favorite genres, but right now I need a light book that will just make me fall in love with reading again. And I loved The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight. I know I'm gonna love this one, so I'm really excited to read this book. So my overall tip for you is to just read contemporaries. If you don't like contemporaries, Christine has a guide to contemporary reads. I'll put that video down below in the description, and she goes into like, if you need a contemporary read, this is for you, and this is the book that you need to read. And that's how I found out about half of the contemporary reads here. And whenever I just get into a reading slump, I just pick up a contemporary, because I know it's just gonna be amazing for me. I hope this video helped you. I've been Courtney, you've been lovely. I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Oh, just side note, let me know if you like this setup. I don't know, I did it on a whim.
I don't know, right? No, it's wet.
So let's just wing this.